Hi guys. Welcome to once again. It is our post-Wrestlemania. It was an unbelievable experience. Of course, I am starting the show because this is the only way, because last Sunday, The Rock, they dropped the ball. So Saturday afternoon, I asked your uncle to start this prestigious program that you call Saturday Afternoon's Main Event. Of course, I am here live in studio. This is, of course, another edition post-WrestleMania. And you're asking yourself, where is that piece of hot garbage? Of course, we invaded his hotel last week, me and my pristine colleague, but I'll get to him in a second. But this week, you're saying, why is he not here? I will get to that later on today, because I do have an announcement later on. But we are here to start this program that you call, that I call, that my pristine colleague, as you say, call, Saturday Afternoon's Main Event. Of course, don't ever forget this, because I know all you guys know this. I am your uncle, Triple C. And for guys, and I know you guys know this, because say it with me, under the umbrella of the Uncle Triple C era, is it live in studio. Now, I have two co-hosts. The other guy's not here today. That's that piece of hot garbage. But his tag team partner, unfortunately, for same universe, he is here. I'll never give him two claps because he doesn't deserve nothing. But he is a staple here on Saturday Afternoon's Main Event. And his name is the Peeps Nate.
Woo! Yes, I'll get my claps elsewhere. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again to another great Saturday afternoon, another main event show. And of course, as we always do, we give you those three tenets that make a Saturday afternoon. That's laughs, good times, and all the wrestling news possible. We will soldier on somehow without my tag team partner. But we do have another co-host. And that other co-host is...
You shut your mouth, Nate.
Look.
Because you don't get to introduce my pristine colleague. This gentleman is not only a friend of mine, but he provides all the information that you, the audience, knows and want to know. This guy is not only a great friend of mine, but his name is Mr. 411 Christopher Morton. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, guys. Oh, by the way, I think Nate has one clap from that 90-year-old toothless hooker last night.
Hey, stop drinking! He thinks he owns the show here.
Yeah, no. You know what? It's good not to have Mr.
That piece of hot garbage. That's what it is. Okay? He's not here today. But before we get to all the proceedings, let me just toast to that he is not here post WrestleMania. Because this is how you start the new season here on Saturday afternoon's main event. Hey, Peep Stage, do something. Who to give the handles?
Yeah, don't even think about lifting your cup to drink.
I'll do the intro like that with the cup in the shot. Thank you. Anyway, if you want to be part of the show to get your comments and questions along with Saturday afternoon's main event, go on our Instagram page. It's Saturday afternoons _main event. If you want to join us on X, it's at Saturday Main. If you want to get us on TikTok, it's Saturday Afternoons ME. Questions, comments, anything related to the show, and we'll post it, put it on the show right here, as you can see, as our handles will show you throughout the rest of the show. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitch or any of those other platforms, we thank you for joining us.
Oh, is he done?
Agreed.
I fell asleep. He's done. Okay.
Well, of course, before we get to everything that took place at WrestleMania Saturday and Sunday, listen, I would be remiss to say that I told you so. Dominic Mysterio is the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. I told you, my boy, Dominic Mysterio. Folks, first of all, one was with me in our suite, and I ran up and down. Listen, I celebrated like insanity. My boy is champion. The greatest intercontinental champion in the history of this business.
He deserves it. He deserves it.
Yes, indeed. My boy.
What a reaction. Champion. By the way, what a reaction. An incredible reaction.
It was
title win, yes.
It was amazing. Damon Days, of course, by the way, he does agree, but Peeps should be suspended for not showing up to Vegas. That's right, Peeps. You should have been suspended. But then again, I have to say this. This is where I do disagree with Damon Days. If Peeps was there, it would have been even a worse WrestleMania in Vegas.
Right.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it's going to be one of those days, guys. Anyway.
Yeah, nobody wants to see him at MetLife either for SummerSlam.
Well, now, folks, let's get to the first topic. But before we get to the first topic, of course, you guys know this. It is now time for Wrestling Crash Course. So, now, here on Saturday afternoon's main event, let's first talk about Saturday and Sunday WrestleMania. Look, before we get to everything else, let's just start off with the main event. 16 times World Heavyweight Champion John Cena went up against, at the time, the current Heavyweight Champion Cody Rhodes. I will start with you, Mr. 411. Take it away.
Well, listen, the IWC, everybody online, everybody, every podcast, and listen, I had this thought sitting there, so I don't need to hear anybody else's thoughts. This was garbage. Absolute hot garbage. No pun intended, by the way. You can't have a worse finish than what they decided to book. The involvement of Travis Scott, and I know Nate has an amazing rant coming up. I'll give him credit for that. He's got a rant coming up that he's eager to get to. I can see it in his face. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking. There's so many layers to this garbage that made the fans just hate it. And I don't think anyone liked it. How can you like this? And it was so bad. The match was okay. The finish has made it stink even more. Obviously, The Rock's lack of involvement, just not being there at all. Nothing. Zero. Just leaves a poor taste in everybody's mouth. And Nate, at this point, I'm going to let you rant because you got a lot to say.
Oh, yeah. This is... It's almost painful to have to go into because for whatever differences we all have, the one thing that we do have is that we have an affinity for WrestleMania. We have an affinity for great storylines, great storytelling, and also an affinity for the WWE as far as what kind of entertainment that it brings. The one thing that I have always stated on this show is that anytime that we talk about storylines, you suspend your belief in a storyline, in the product, as long as it makes sense. The storyline that we all saw, knowing that Cody Rhodes was supposed to go into WrestleMania and defend the championship against a John Cena who has turned heel. That storyline in and of itself is a great highlight for a WrestleMania main event, given the fact that John Cena is retiring. So what was the main tenet that precipitated all of the things that happened afterwards? It was The Rock's involvement being the top of executive board of directors of TKO and implementing the fact that he wanted Cody's soul. That's what kind of started this whole thing. Okay, he wanted his soul. What did that mean? We were to find out he wanted him to be his corporate champ. That didn't happen. He turned his back on the offer. He then got jumped later on, as we saw, with The Rock kind of having Travis Scott and, of course, John Cena turning. This is the plot line that makes no sense, which worked if they actually did something. Do any of us recall that The Rock had a weightlifting belt on his waist that had Dusty Rhodes' death date on it, which then added how personal that this decision was supposed to be? Okay, fine. That works within the framework of that. And the WWE, specifically, for the most part, Triple H, Lee Fitting, and his booking committee, along with probably a little bit of input from The Rock, crafted something that made sense with Cena initially tearing the fans down. We're all on board for that because it worked. And what makes that turn make sense is because everything he said happened in real time. So they got input from the fans as to what he was doing, but no Rock. So we fast forward a couple more weeks of this happening. We get the promo in London. We see Cena going ahead, doing the same thing. We see Cody going ahead, defending himself. And what do we get afterwards is the fact that there was just finally a couple of mentions of The Rock. Just a couple. Okay, that means it's going to happen. What The Rock then did because of that is that you've now painted the main event as a distraction, because instead of people wanting to see Cody and Cena go through this epic match, and if I'm not mistaken, since you guys were there, how many people were rubbernecking the aisle during the match, wondering if The Rock was going to show up? I'm just as a curious question.
Yeah, I had a great view from the stage where I was sitting, and as soon as Travis Scott came out, everyone was checking the camera people to see if they were going to again show if someone was going to come out. And when it never happened, you had to hear like everyone was just like, wow. It was unbelievable how many people were just watching the stage at that point.
Yes. I would think going forward that would be something you would answer as a storyline plot hole to connect everything together. Travis Scott comes out. He pretty much interferes. And this is where we were like, okay, Cody is going to get his receipt. This was one of the things that he said he was going to do. He was going to have his receipt ready. The receipt was a crossroads and then being kicked out of the ring, which is weak considering what we thought was going to happen. In that, we figured, okay, Rock is going to show up. Didn't happen. While that happened and the referee was not senseless, because we usually have a ref bump. We know how these main events get sometimes overbooked, which kind of makes sense. Cody had a chance to use the belt to win. He got kicked in the crotch. He lost the match. No Rock. No vignette. No interview. Nothing. Which then a lot of people took to social media and buried the ending of it. Because as you did say, Chris, the match was actually pretty good up until that point. Now we fast forward a couple days. we talk about The Rock showing up on Pat McAfee, who, by the way, great kayfabe after getting choked out on Monday night, showing up to do his show. No neck brace. Hey, at least Tony Khan sold the beating when the Bucks beat him up. So there was that. What I think.
Wait, McAfee still did his show after being choked out?
He still did his show. And he was the one that interviewed The Rock that for the quotes that The Rock talked about on why creative did what it did and whatever was the case.
I feel like after getting choked out, he has to miss one show.
It miss one show,
right?
Show up with a neck brace, right. Something that sells it. Ricky Steamboat did a great job of selling the injury to Randy Savage after his larynx was crushed. They could have done something like that. Here's what the problem is with Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson did this interview with Pat McAfee and basically threw Triple H, the creative, and the rest of that whole entire build under the bus by putting him in a bag, throwing him in the street, and grabbing his tour bus and running over it. By basically saying, well, I would have done something differently. I would have finessed this a little differently if I was to be able to do a lot of this. And also The Rock basically saying that he only got into the feud to sell tickets for the Elimination Chamber. So that's why instead of this happening at WrestleMania, it happened at the Elimination Chamber, the Cena turn. And he basically went and said, my job is done. I was there. The final boss is done as far as his story. No more input. You just killed the build for the main event. We're not talking about how good the turn was. We're not talking about how great, but by the way, John Cena has been perfect in this slot as being a heel. But what you have literally done has castrated all goodwill that generated from this feud because The Rock was not needed. If he was going to put himself in this feud, what he could have done was, even if it was just to show up on a jet, do a vignette from the jet, from the offices, say an interview, something to connect why he did what he did with that. There was no Cody on SmackDown. Obviously, he's probably licking his wounds after what happened, but there was nothing there. That is why I think a lot of people looked at this and tore this completely apart. And I think it does a disservice from Dwayne Johnson and his involvement or lack thereof, and kind of shows now what Triple H has to deal with. Because I think you might agree with this one. We watched the Raw and the SmackDown after WrestleMania. And I will go and dare say this. Both of those shows were better than night 2 of WrestleMania. By a long shot. And it goes to show you the difference in the booking influence with Triple H and what happened with The Rock. I'll throw it to you, Chris. What do you think?
Well, wait, I want to, Uncle Triple C, what do you think before I piggyback off of what Nate said?
As far as, just to quickly, overall on what you said about The Rock and the whole main event, I'll say this. The main event was fine for what it was, but like Chris said, while we were in the stadium, we kept looking at the back and kept wanting to see, what's next, who's coming out. Yes, we got one person to come up, Travis Scott, but then again, we're like, okay, now the match is going to start. We figured, but what we got, granted, at the end of the day, John Cena winning 17, fine. It's good, it's cool, 17. It's how he got to 17. And the fact that, as you guys said, Nate, Chris, no mention of The Rock. Give me something. I don't care. Jet, something on the screen, something, anything, nothing. And to me, it what you did last year with Cody finishing the story and how great that main event was, and then even the build to the main event wasn't that great. But again, we got to John Cena 17. Congratulations. I know it's not what everybody was expecting as far, not the result, but the way they were going to get. Congratulations, John Cena achieving 17. Mr. 411?
Yeah, I have a lot to say now. I feel like Cody got buried in this match so badly with the fact that he doesn't use the belt. You got kicked in the balls by John Cena, right? Everything that was said about you, how soft you are, how just all the things Cena said in every promo. That
being a fraud.
Yes, have that rage against a man to hit him with the belt. And I was joking during it. I thought it would have been funny if Cody turned in this too, because the crowd clearly, that's another thing we're not talking about. The crowd took a hot dump on Cody, and Cena referenced it on Raw the next night in his promo. And that was shocking to me, how the Cody ride and everything like that, winning the title, finishing the story. And then Cena comes back. Now, granted, it may not be in every city, okay? But in that city, on that night, it was bad. I mean, you thought Cody was the heel. I feel like he should have turned on everybody that night. That would have been amazing. There should have been some improv in there. And Cody not hitting him with the belt was poor. Not to mention, I saw Cody leaving. I was watching him leave. Head was down. Looked emotional. Looked very emotional in that. Like, I believe, and you referenced it early, Nate, about the storyline and Triple H's involvement with The Rock and the disagreements that I'm sure they have with both booking teams, right? Booking teams.
Yeah.
Right. And how everything goes down behind the scenes. I would love to be a fly on the wall. I would pay to hear the disagreements, because as much as they want to make everything out to be great, it is not. There's definitely dissension amongst the two of them and decision making. And if I'm Cody, you have to be emotional. Think about everything that happened. And that brings me to one other point before I go to Cena. The leak that everyone is aware of now, that Cody was not booked on any show for a month post WrestleMania. However that got out, somebody needs to be fired over that.
Yeah.
Because for us to know that going into this match, that just says Cody was losing.
Yeah.
And that might be one of the worst leaks ever, that Cody's not appearing on a show for a month. How does that happen? That's mind-blowing. Yes. And then the last thing, Cody being emotional. If you're Cody and you do this run, right, and then all of a sudden you hear Cena's coming back. As good as Cena has been, and he's been great, he's exceeded expectations as a heel. No denying that. How does everyone feel in that locker room? I'm talking about the top guys. All the top guys. Knowing Cena was coming back, how did this go down? Was this a call from Cena to Triple H, or is it vice versa? I don't know. I don't know if you guys know, you can let me know, but I don't know if that information is available. Because if I'm every guy in that locker room, I'm annoyed by this. Because, and think about Triple H from the standpoint of him having booked things perhaps 6 months in advance. I don't know if he does it as far as Vince did. Who knows? Maybe he's open to changes along the way. But if I'm every guy in the back, I'm not happy with the Cena run. It bothers me. It rubs me the wrong way. I can't wait for him to leave. I mean, I don't know how this changes Punk, Drew McIntyre, Gunther. Think about all the top guys now that have to take a backseat to Cena during this.
Yeah.
And business is so hot right now. I don't know if Cena is going to help it. I don't know. And that's another thing. When we talk about how WrestleMania finished, does this hurt business? Can this hurt business? Because right now they're clicking on all cylinders. But I don't know. I don't know if I love this Cena run right now in terms of what it does to everybody else.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually a good framework to have. Go ahead.
Let me say this. As far as business goes, clearly business is booming. Whether, the fact that John Cena is there. Listen, Chris, we were there. We saw a lot of John Cena merch, and business is doing fine. So with John Cena here, with at least for the rest of this year, we'll see where it goes. I have to believe that things will take a turn for the better under the Triple H regime. Who knows what took place? Like you said, a lot of disagreements. But I remember even watching one interview. I forget it was two guys. I remember seeing it on YouTube a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a week ago. And the question was posed about John Cena, and Triple H said he specifically asked John Cena, "Would you consider turning heel?" So Triple H did ask him, and John Cena, I don't know if it surprisingly said yes, but he did say yes. So as far as how everything works after that, who knows? But as far as the locker room goes, as long as business is booming, I don't know, maybe morally, maybe for the top guys, they feel some type of way. But then again, business is doing fine right now. So, again, was it a disappointing WrestleMania main event? Yes, it was. WrestleMania had good matches on the card, so I don't want to crap on Mania like it was complete garbage. But the main event, obviously, that's what everybody will remember, and that was the disappointment, guys.
Yeah, and if you also look at it from the standpoint of the continuance of what The Rock said, if you think about what The Rock said during that interview, he also led into the fact that he kind of confirmed that Cody was the person that was initially supposed to turn heel. But then he also laid out the fact that there are plans in the works for Cody to turn heel down the road. Why would you say that on an interview? It's mind-boggling to me.
There's too much pulling back the curtain. Nate, sorry to cut you off. There's way too much pulling back the curtain. And granted, as great as business is, does that hurt business at all going forward? I don't know, but that remains to be seen. I'm sorry, Nate. Go ahead. Yeah,
the ironic part of you bringing that up as far as pulling back the curtain, the WWE is actually going to have a show in the summer called, I think it's called Unreal, where they're going to show you the planning, I believe, of this year's WrestleMania and give you an idea of what it's like in the booking room. We'll see where they're slotting in matches, and WrestleMania looked a lot different. You know, I mean...
Wait. I want to know if we're going to get the meeting between Triple H and The Rock. Are we going to see that? Because that is where the explosivity is going to be in terms of the disagreements. Or are they going to make everything look friendly? You know what I mean? I don't know if they're going to show dissension. Would they ever show that?
Yeah. Similar to what they did when they talked about what happened with WrestleMania 40. This one is kind of probably be a lot more inclusive as far as where we're going to find out what happens in the room and some of the matches that are supposed to take place. Some wrestlers that were on the card weren't even supposed to be penciled in to wrestle. So when we find out who's going to be where and what happened, you know, the Wyatt Six was supposed to be at WrestleMania. I think they were supposed to wrestle Judgment Day. So, yeah, there are a couple of Easter eggs in that show that are going on that will explain it, which goes back to your point as far as pulling back the curtain, maybe a little bit too much. There should be some form of kayfabe, some sort of discovering what happens. And as a wrestling fan, mystify me with how you're going to get this story to work. Give it branches that branch out to other people. I love how Triple H, when his booking is on point, when we look at Raw or we look at SmackDown, we'll see somebody that's in a feud, but then we'll see in an interview somebody that's not part of the feud, but connected to those talents walking around in the back, listening to somebody waiting out of the car, or they'll talk to somebody. You see somebody getting out in the parking lot, walking towards, listening to what the interview is. Those small details are what makes the booking seem interconnected. Those are the kinds of things that we need to see more of. They don't have to pull the veil back and show everything all the time. You know, it's like the magician showing you how I made the Statue of Liberty disappear. I don't need to know that. Just make it disappear and mystify me. That's all.
So aside from this finish, what was the most surprising? I'll ask both of you. What was the most surprising thing to you guys aside from this match in both nights? Nate?
I can't believe I'm going to go in lockstep with this. But to me, the more surprising thing was Dominic winning the Intercontinental Championship. I can't believe I'm saying that.
Dominic Mysterio, once again, my boy, is the IC champion, the greatest intercontinental champion in the history of this business.
Yes.
Now, I'll say this. It was very emotional for me. I didn't shed a tear, but I drank a lot, and it was great that my boy is champion. I will say this. As far as WrestleMania goes, me personally, I thought the best match of the night and the surprise of the night was the three-way between Io, Bianca, and Rhea. I thought that it was the best match of the two nights. Yes, we could get to the main event of night one, But I felt that the surprise was Io winning or retaining her women's championship. But I thought that was, to me, the best match of the whole weekend.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, I absolutely hated that Naomi lost. It bothered me so much based on the storyline and how much they built her up. And now, granted, I know she attacked Jade last night on SmackDown, but I feel like she attacked Jade, and all that's going to happen is she's going to take another loss. I don't think there's anything going to come of that. I would be shocked if she wins the rematch to have a rubber match. I felt she should have gone over at WrestleMania, and then Jade gets her revenge after that. That was poorly done. Secondly, Rey Fenix in his second match loses at WrestleMania. Now I know the storyline went with Rey, but come on now, you can't beat Rey Fenix in his second match. What is going on? It was 8 minutes. Also, last thing, I get how over Jacob Fatu is. Jacob Fatu is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, and I'm sure the merch is coming up too. I'm sure everyone's buying his stuff. But to beat LA Knight the way they did in, like, what was that, 10-minute match?
Yes.
I mean, that match deserved more time. LA Knight deserved a bigger comeback, a bigger attempt, a better finish. I felt like it was a 10-minute squash match with a little bit of offense from LA Knight. Not happy with a lot of that stuff, man. Some of this stuff bothered me to death. I mean, anything bother you guys?
I know you're big on LA Knight, but it's clearly they on that Jacob Fatu train right now, and LA Knight had that, you could say, a year ago, 2 years ago, and not that it's gone down because the fans still, cheer him and you hear LA Knight chants and you hear the and all of that. But right now, listen, that Samoan tree, that Samoan family, right now Jacob Fatu, he's on that rocket ship, and you can see that he's going places. And it won't surprise me by next year, he's in a world title picture some way, somehow.
Yeah, that Rey Fenix thing was kind of shocking to me, especially when you do that the weekend that you announced that you have purchased AAA. Great point. Like, unbelievable. And it's really odd when they did the announcement to see Stephanie Batcare along with everybody else that was there, knowing that she spent most of her career in CMLL. So I can imagine that had to feel kind of odd. But then to have Rey Fenix have his first match at WrestleMania, obviously because of the injury to Rey Mysterio, and have him lose, that's weird. That was really, really odd.
By the way, Stephanie Vicare, hi, Mr. 411 here. Miss Norton's Law Podcast on Instagram. If you want to slide into my DMs, feel free, please. Hi, Stephanie.
Nothing wrong with that. Believe you me. One thing I will say about Stephanie Vicare, it is hilarious every time when she goes to that move, and then you see her assets.
Yes.
And then Booker T. With the whole Stephanie Vicare, that is the most hilarious thing. Right.
Yeah, that's all he does. Oh man, he loses his mind.
So before we get to the ratings, Nate, let's get to night one main event.
Okay.
It had everything: drama, suspense. Those three guys was gonna kill it. They did. What are your thoughts on night one's main event?
I'll throw it to you, Mr. 411. You go ahead. What do you think of that?
Oh, the night one main event was a killer. They did everything right. I don't think there's anything that you could say that was wrong. I mean, we all thought going in that Heyman would or could turn against everybody. The way it was done, though, was what did you say, Nate? Cinema, right? Cinema?
Yes, cinema.
So, the way it was all set up, from Heyman looking distraught and then getting behind Roman and doing the crotch. And, it was so well done. I don't know much more I can add to that. I loved it. And then, again, the promo we get on Raw with the two of them, and now Heyman no longer being the cowardly sidekick. Now he has kind of like that old school Paul Heyman feel to him again.
Yes. He looked to me like Paul E. Dangerously.
Correct.
He didn't come across to me as Paul Heyman.
That's a good point.
What I loved about that is the fact that we knew what kind of snake his character has always been. Right. But the last 4 years or so, he has been so deferential to his tribal chief in literally every instance. But if you look at it, and I said this before, when you make a believable character that have to have levels that are believable, The reasoning behind why Heyman turned makes perfect sense. Roman just used Heyman to get to where he is. And CM Punk, he used CM Punk to get that favor out against his own best interests.
Right.
Makes the most sense to me. And we all know now that Heyman had a hand in Seth coming out, being part of NXT, coming out and then going on to the main roster. So he has his hands in a lot of that match. And the fact that he was able to let's really call it what it is. He helped decide this match and went on him in his own way with the new winning formula that got him to where they are at now. Done. I love the camera work. The camera setups were perfect. The hard camera was right where it needed to be.
Shout out Lee Fitting. Shout out Lee Fitting.
Yes. Very good. Very good. He's the camera work from above the ring. The camera work, the close-ups that were away from the faces so that you wouldn't see certain moves come up. That's how you go ahead and you add drama and bring the fans that are at home through the development of the story as it continues to go on. And I thoroughly loved it into that extent.
Before we get to the rings, one last thing about WrestleMania. Of course, I'd be remiss to not say this, but congratulations to Jey Uso for finally capturing the World Heavyweight title. I know Mr. 401 disagrees with Jey Uso winning the title.
No yeet.
But
No
I
yeet.
loved it. Yeet.
No yeet.
I think I know why Chris feels that way. I don't think it's as much Walter losing.
Right.
It's how he lost. That's what I think was the problem. Not only did he get choked out, he got tapped out, and he tapped out like that. That I have a problem with. He tapped out almost the second he got put into sleeper.
What a finish. That's horrible. Thank you for bringing it up. I completely forgot about how that was done. So poorly done. I've been a no yeet since day one. Ha ha ha. See that?
Oh boy.
I mean, you can't listen. And then the whole McAfee thing. Listen, if McAfee's gonna wrestle and beat Gunther, that's gonna make me so sick. I'm gonna hate that.
Yeah, but, we'll see. So Nate, let's get to the ratings for NXT and the first mention of course, everybody's favorite promotion, AEW.
Yes. There we go. Since we didn't get to the ratings last week, I'll compare them to last week's ratings. Last week's ratings, NXT won 663,000, and they got a 0.14 in the demo. AEW did 624,000. They got 0.17 in the demo. So their demo was a little bit up. Let's juxtapose that to what happened this past week. NXT, 686,000 and 0.17 in the demo. AEW Dynamite, 521,000 and 0.14 in the demo. That is their second lowest rated Dynamite in, I think, the history of the show.
It was correct. You're 100% right. Now let me jump all over this because I mean there's so many different ways to take this. Now you can talk about the 521K dropping from the show itself. I don't know. Okay, I don't know the quarter hour, so I'm curious to see how far what this started at, because normally they start around 750, 800,000. You know, around COVID they were doing 1 million, and they were
up against a lot of sports that night also. So
right. I mean, of course that's their favorite excuse all the time. Was it because of the previous week's shows? Did the fans start getting sick of the garbage we were seeing? Because there's a lot of garbage the last couple of weeks. The shows have not been strong, and they were for a while. They were really good actually, and the last couple of weeks made me hate watching it. I didn't want to watch it anymore. I was with Uncle on that one. I was with your uncle. I didn't want to watch it. So this week they start. Okay, granted, you're in New Orleans, right? I understand that. But when you watch everything that transpired with Travis Scott and how the IWC, which is more prevalent to AEW than WWE, although that's changing also, you bring out Master P, okay? Who hasn't been relevant since when? When? Tell me when. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Now, I heard
late
he's a
90s?
great guy. Yeah. Great guy, great community guy, you name it. People, listen, the pop for him was bigger than. I even heard Tommy Dreamer say something like he was surprised by the pop. Granted, hometown guy going to get the pop. What do people think about Master P at home? Do people go, what are we watching here? Is this WCW all over again? Listen, that's one of the biggest problems with AEW is they're often linked to the dying days of WCW. And this is another example of that. This was so poorly done. I didn't care. It was cringe when Samoa Joe got on the mic and did the nah. Mm-hmm. I mean, what was that? That was so bad. Mm-hmm. Then the Young Bucks come out. Everyone comes out. It was like a Hanna-Barbera sketch where everyone comes out and just starts attacking each other. I know that someone mentioned that they're going to, I think it was Mr. Pierre, that they're going to lead to blood and guts. I don't want to see a blood and guts involving the Young Bucks. No, I don't want to see anything. They are must turn off the TV. That's what they are right now. They have go away heat with so many people. Everything they do is garbage. And this segment was bad, and it made me not want to watch the rest of the show. I'm still trying to get through this show. It's not good. And, all the excuses they want to make up for the rating drop, let's see if it rebounds. I mean, listen, the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs are going to be here for the next month, 6 weeks. Their number keeps dropping. And everyone talks about max, Nate. Oh, the max numbers, this and that. I have a question. Does WBD care about max numbers? What do you think?
Probably to a small degree, given the fact that they gave AEW all this money, knowing that would theoretically bring eyeballs to Max. Maybe. But I don't think that it matters in the same way as, say, Raw's numbers to Netflix. Because I think based on what we've seen with Raw, I think their numbers are roughly the same as they were when they were on USA. I don't think there's that much of a difference. There was that initial hit of wanting to see Raw on Netflix. But I think it's kind of evened out a little bit. And depending WrestleMania weekend or SummerSlam weekend or a big event, the numbers will fluctuate. But they haven't really changed too much. This is crazy. And here's the even part to piggyback on your point. Did they just not celebrate having the most shows on all of Turner's networks as a wrestling show by beating out WCW? Where was the fanfare? Where was the vignette? I had the same argument when they did the same thing after they got to the 5-year anniversary of Dynamite being on TNT and Turner, etc. Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it.
It's such an unwatchable show again. And Tony Khan never wants help. I mean, listen, even Uncle Dave was taking shots at some of the things they've done. And now, are you privy to the Mariah May situation? Mariah May basically saying she wants to go to WWE, and Tony Khan is going to leave her at home. But people's like, wait a second, you could bring her out and still do stuff with her. Old promoters used to bury people before they left. He just leaves them at home. And there's so many different things going on with this company right now. And then Nick Khan comes out. How about Nick Khan saying, oh, well, we know how many people want to leave, and they're going to come to us at some point. That is alarming right now.
Yes, it's bad PR for AEW. Especially since they're in the eyes of the world from a marketing standpoint, from an attention standpoint, the number 2 company at least in the United States, as far as professional wrestling goes.
Right.
And when you have those kinds of numbers continue to pop up and you hear people online saying things negatively about your company, knowing that if things were fine-tuned, that AEW would be in a better situation. Within the last couple of years, they've lost on average maybe 200,000 viewers on a weekly basis. And it seems like the new low continues to change. It was 800,000 was the mean. And then it was 750,000 and it was 700,000. Now we're dipping between 600 and 650. Right. Where is the average that they're going to set up shop and say, this is enough, this is the bottom, and let's improve the product so we can continue to grow the audience?
No, they won't. Tony Khan will never say that. It's going to be about WBD pulling the plug. Tony Khan's never going to be like, oh, I need to change this or change that. He's always going to – the dwindling sickos. Where are your sickos going? They're going.
Yeah, going. And the sad part is you don't want them to be going, gone. And when you're hearing about talent that are upset and that are not there. And I'm going to make this point that would kind of kick Tony Khan in the crotch. All WrestleMania weekend for the WWE was in ring, was started with two guys from AEW, was main evented night one by somebody that was the face of AEW for a couple of years.
Right.
And then the main event of night two, one half of that person was a founder of AEW.
Correct.
I can't put it any more succinctly than that. You just can't. I just don't get it. But well,
and to reiterate, for those that don't watch the show every week, we don't hate AEW. We want it to succeed. We do.
Exactly.
We need reasons to want to watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the Hurt Syndicate with MJF, I didn't see all of the show, so I don't know if they did a little more with that, but I like some of that. I mean, there's things on the show that are good. I'm not saying the whole show is horrible, but there's a lot of bad elements, and the Young Bucks are the biggest problem, as are the Death Riders. It's horrible.
Yes.
They're so bad.
Yeah. And I think you're trying to figure out the way that they're trying to book the next couple of months, because you've got a couple of big pay-per-views coming up, Double or Nothing, All In. You also have now, as they've talked about, they're going to be in Mexico for Grand Slam.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be going overseas and doing a lot of other shows. They have to open up and let the fan base feel that there's a reason to want to see it. Because in ring, as far as getting the arenas booked, I don't think it'll be too much of a problem. Internationally, a lot of places love to see American wrestling. They're going to go and flock to see it. They're going to pay the tickets. The issue is watching it domestically on cable or through streaming. Wherever they're going to go, how are they going to get that to be the case going forward, and letting that be something where the audience can now grow as opposed to losing audience. That's something that they have to work on. And I don't know when that is the case or how they're going to do it. And when you keep hearing grumblings of this guy wants to leave, that person wants to leave.
A lot of people want out.
I'm shocked. I don't know how many other people that are there on the roster, because we've talked about this before. They have a very deep roster, and a lot of those people that are in the company aren't being used. We don't understand why. We don't understand how they're not being used. They could.
I hated the Rock and Roll Express being on TV again.
Oh, yes.
Kidnapped them? Weren't they kidnapped recently? You bring out these 70-year-old guys, legends. You had them kidnapped, and then you stuff pile drive them. The heat was already gone. You did what you did to Rock and Roll Express. Now it's overkill. No one cared about that. FTR should have done that to somebody else. You're not getting any more heat when what you already did to the Rock and Roll Express previously.
Yes, and it's hard to explain that if you're trying to connect the old with the new, the ones that are watched the Rock and Roll Express when we were young and watched the Rock and Roll Express run roughshod all over the Turner networks and run roughshod over the Crockett's, and we know what their reputation is. We're going to watch to see what they're doing. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that they were in TNA doing a spot, just a couple years back, when they were involved.
They were just in the NWA doing matches.
Exactly.
They're still working, which is kind of sad, but I mean, nonetheless, whatever.
They have a cachet that you can tap into. And the thought process is to use those legends to give FTR the rub as being the heels that they are, and what they're doing as we saw what they tried to do to Tony Schiavone. They literally tried to make him 3 inches shorter by trying to spike pile drive him. There's that. And I actually think that somewhat worked, because for whatever reason, Tony knows how to go ahead in the ring and let that go and develop that. I don't know how far they're going to take it, but it looks like that aspect is working. What they did with the Rock and Roll Express, I did not like.
No, it was just overkill. I mean, look, if they had never been on that TV show before and they came out and the crowd popped and everything was great, and then they did that to them, then that's super over. That's super heat. You can't do it over and over again with the same veterans and the same legends. No. By the way, you notice how Ricky Morton kind of went into business for himself? He grabbed the mic. Ricky Morton, 0 F's given for Ricky Morton. He doesn't care. Yeah.
He should have just had a hat that had that on there. But yeah, it's interesting. And I think going forward, they have to learn some of the things that got them to where they were. As Kenny Omega has said in the past, they want AEW to restore the feeling which is what the description was of how the fans connected with AEW's
Does
programming.
Does that involve a finger in his butthole?
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know, but it's interesting to find out how that's going to work. I don't know how we are as far as maybe the questions involved, or we'll kind of figure that out as we go along with the show. But we looked at night 1 and we looked at night 2 of WrestleMania. Where do you rank this WrestleMania compared to WrestleManias that you've seen in the past? Because I always convince myself and look at this as I look at the build of WrestleMania 3 and other consequent WrestleManias as to where I judge these. Where do you judge this just based on in totality of night 1 and night 2 as far as WrestleMania goes? What do you think?
I mean, it's a middle of the pack show. It's not. Is it as bad as WrestleMania 9 in Vegas? Probably not, right? I know Jim Cornette was recently just doing a history because isn't there something on Peacock about?
Yes, there's a documentary on how they built up WrestleMania with the behind the scenes stuff, and then they talked about the black eye of Hulk Hogan, about how that happened.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is middle of the pack. It wasn't the worst. It wasn't the best. I don't know where I would rank it. It was there. Like I was more into night 1 than I was into night 2. I mean, also the people around me were better on night 1, so it made it better. Like the whole Tiffy Charlotte situation. Night 1 was fun. I had somebody in my crowd, in my section, dressed as Tiffany Stratton. He had the wig and everything. It was hilarious. And he would turn to us and say, "What time is it?" And we all had to say Tiffy time, or he yelled at us.
Wow. Yes. She is over.
Really interesting characters. Yeah, no, I was so happy she won the way she did. And if you noticed her promo last night on SmackDown, she kind of looked in the camera and gave a little, "Yeah, what's up?"
Yeah.
You know,
What?
Like what, Charlotte? What? Like that was great. Now she did take a hard shot. She took a bump. Charlotte,
not only did she take a bump, she also chipped a tooth. So and the crazy part about it is, and this is something that we've talked about before, is if you have a feud with somebody where you do not get along, nobody's throwing forearms, nobody's trying to do wrestling moves.
No. They
started the first 5 minutes and it looked like a straight up brawl. Like they were trying to embarrass each other and fight at the same time. But then as the match went along, it was like, okay, now I'm going to try to out wrestle you and embarrass you in the ring. And I think that made the most sense out of a scat-filled situation from the 2 promos that they did with each other.
I want to behind the scenes, pull back the curtain. I want to know their conversation. I want to know how they laid out that match and how reluctant each party was to do the other stuff and how it came about. And if people suggest online, we don't know how true this is, that Charlotte did go rough on her. She kind of went New Japanish on her, old school.
Yes.
Well,
it's interesting. I think, and I think that if you're looking at it from that standpoint, then it makes the most sense as to how they laid everything out the way it was. And we didn't get Rhea versus Charlotte where Charlotte was happy that Tiffany won. We didn't get that kind of reaction, and nor should we. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure maybe on a small personal level that she's kind of happy she was able to get Tiffany over. I don't know how much is personal, how much was just taken out of context to as far as it got. Maybe it just went off the rails because Charlotte was trying to do one thing and it went a complete different way. But the reason why this worked is because Charlotte, as a heel, works better than as a face. And they did a terrible job of propping her up before her match by instituting her into the Royal Rumble and winning without any build as to why she had gotten hurt.
So bad.
Yeah.
But kudos to Tiffy. I hate that Nia Jax is back. That bothered me last night. I hate Nia Jax. Please get off my TV. You're horrible. Why is she doing DX chops last night? What is that about?
I have no idea.
She is more lost as a character than any character I've ever seen on television. She doesn't know what to do. She's horrible in the ring. Her mic skills suck. Her voice is annoying. Everything about her is indie level. She should not be anywhere near a network television promotion.
Well, the one thing that I will say about Nia Jax is that she actually has improved since her first stint in WWE. And I'm not going to completely dump on her because she has improved and she actually has had pretty good matches. Is she going to
Is
be
she being carried to those matches? She's not leading those matches, Nate.
I don't think so, because I think she's still learning, even at this stage, of how to pace matches. And when you put her in the ring with the right opponent, they seem to bring out the best in her. So I think that's what they're laying out for her. And if she's calling matches and we don't know about it, then she's doing a decent job of it, if that's the case.
I would be shocked to know she's calling that.
Yeah.
Granted, they always say the heel calls the matches. I wouldn't want to listen to her call them. So bad. She's so bad. Nepotism in its worst way. Oh, Dwayne Johnson, please get your what's the relation? Who is she? Cousin, right? Cousin? Please get your cousin off my TV screen.
Yeah. Let's find out what happens going forward. But I think the one thing that we probably should try to do is talk about that TLC match that happened on SmackDown. Which
I'm sorry, I have 800 jobs. I couldn't watch all of SmackDown. So if you want to speak on it, go ahead.
SmackDown, first off, Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania were really, really good. And I think what's going on is that we see a difference in the way the booking is between what we see on Monday and what we saw Sunday and Saturday. There was definitely a difference in intensity of what was booked. And because of what they did for Monday, was like, okay, Monday was great. New United States women's United States champion. I didn't see that happening.
I didn't see that match either. Who's the champion?
It's Zelina Vega by beating Chelsea Green on SmackDown. Yeah. And I think that was the story that they were building. But it seemed like anybody who was a current champ, they were catching it because a lot of title changes actually happened over this past week.
Is Vinny Root booking again? Vinny Root with Cash TV?
We got to find out, bro.
Wait, before I know you want to get into your TLC match, but before that, how shocking was it that Lila Valkyria with Becky Lynch win the titles and then drop them right back on Monday night? That was surprised.
Yes. That was weird. I mean, I guess they thought they needed the plot device of winning the belts and then them losing and having Becky have the reason that they lost is because of Lyra. I guess that's what they were doing. And then
don't you think that's rushed?
That could have been they could have drawn that out at least a month.
How rushed is that?
They've been teasing Fraxium breaking up as a tag team with the same similar mindset, and they've been a team for like almost 3 years, or close to a little over 2 years now. Right. So obviously they were thrown together at the last minute because Bayley got hurt, and they used that as a device. It's like, well, since Bayley's not going to be here for however long, let's throw her in. Becky, maybe in some instances, some people should have thought Becky was going to be there based on her appearance at the Hall of Fame, watching with her husband. So maybe in that case, we saw that. But SmackDown, the entire show was really, really good. The TLC match between the Machine Guns, the Street Profits, and DIY was... First off, it was the first TLC match that they had on television in 5 years. I find that hard to believe, but even more so, this was without question probably one of the best matches SmackDown has done since they moved back to USA. We've talked about before over the time that we've done this, that Raw and SmackDown shows were too long. SmackDown is now 3 hours. You got to fill in a lot of details and a lot of storyline to make sure that there's not a lot of filler. So in any event, that's one of the cases that happens there. But that TLC match was insane. The Profits winning the match. There was a spot where there was a table in the ring. Ciampa goes to the top to try to pull the belts. He's swinging away because there's no ladder for him to climb back down. And as he's spinning around, Dawkins comes off the top rope and spears him off the belts through the table. And then they put up another ladder which then Montez climbs up and grabs the belts and wins. It was, without question, one of the most physical,
can you
great
promise me
matches
that
out
I'm not going to hate this match for other reasons? Because you know how I critique
Yes.
matches. I'm not going to hate this match.
There may be a couple of things here and there,
Okay.
but you will definitely enjoy that match. You will definitely enjoy that match.
Because I always fear when you say things like that, it turning into an AEW cluster match where nothing makes sense. There's no psychology. Just everyone has adrenaline rushes no matter how many times they've been dropped on their head. Little things like that. WWE does a better job of containing that.
Yeah, there was a lot of furniture. As we know, it's a TLC match. There was a lot of ladders. There were a lot of broken ladders and broken spots, broken tables, etc. But
now, I want to thank you, Tony Khan. By the way, I've been just told in my ear, Tony Khan has given us overtime again. WBD, everybody, thank you for giving us overtime. Real quick, I know we got a couple things to get to before we wrap it up here. Karrion Kross, what's the story, and what did you feel about his involvement with AJ Styles?
Well, AJ Styles, Karrion Kross interfered, or has for the last few weeks has been trying to kind of corrupt AJ Styles in the storyline. It's like everybody that he gets involved with, he corrupts them to turning heel. AJ has not had a great year, the injuries, taking time off, losing matches, etc. So he's been kind of asking him to help him out. The match at WrestleMania between AJ and between Logan Paul was actually pretty good.
Yes.
And then there was a spot toward the end of the match where Karrion Kross came out to try to help him. And he refused it, which then Logan Paul then used that particular instance to cheat and win. So Karrion Kross went on a podcast and literally excoriated AJ, called him by his birth name called him Alan.
Really?
I think this is the evolution of him going into Killer Kross, because that's how he sounded. Okay. And he dumped on him. He said, you going with the people, you're going with the fans, et cetera, and all of those kinds of things are crazy. So that's one of the deals that is insane in and of itself. And I think that added edge they're going to use for. And the one thing that I do want to bring up, and this is something that we don't want to be remiss in saying, is that, especially I know you being a Chicago Bears fan, knowing that Steve Mongo McMichael, who passed away after his long battle with ALS, passed away at age 67, he transcended not just football, but actually being a part of wrestling and WCW, being a former Horseman. What are your feeling, both as a fan of his in sports, but also what he did in the world of wrestling?
Yeah, well, as a Bears fan, lifelong Bears fan, I was probably too young to enjoy his play, because then they won the Super Bowl in '85. I was only 9 years old. So I didn't really get to see a lot of his greatness, like as I would understand it now, how good he was as a defensive tackle. But yeah, no, tremendous run with that franchise. Again, as a Bears fan, they should have won more than one Super Bowl. A lot of things happened, a lot of injuries. Disappointing that they didn't win more than one. But his transition to wrestling was absolutely incredible, better than most people would have thought. I think early on, people were critical. I think if there was an IWC back then, more so than it is today, the internet was, in its infancy stages, people would have killed his transition. But it wasn't bad overall when you look back on it. And he was committed to it. I thought he did a pretty good job. Now, I think him being in the Horseman is what drove everybody nuts. How do you put this guy in the Horseman? All the legacy guys in the Horseman. I don't know. What do you think? I
think being a huge Horseman mark, I thought that his personality fit the Horseman. His promo skills weren't great,
right?
But he had to kind of rein back what he could say, because we all know he has a potty mouth. So couldn't do that on WCW television. So I think that from that extent, that was one of those things that you had to deal with. But as a person, as an athlete, he was great. And I think that that's what's missed upon everybody, is how young he was, his aptitude that he was able to pull through the business. He was able to get that look, and also his influence with not just being part of the Horsemen, but still being revered by a lot of wrestling fans that still remembered him years and years later, but even more so as a sports fan. and watching him play for the Bears and watching him play his career and winning a Super Bowl ring and knowing what he could do on the field, that's what hurts the most. So I think with that, we can say that we pass our condolences to his family, all of the fans that followed him, that were Mongo fans,
Right.
both WCW and with the Bears, and he definitely will be missed. And I think for that, since we went a little bit over and we've had some...
No, we got one more. Aleister Black. Let me know what
Yes.
happened with Aleister Black.
Yes, Aleister Black, who showed up on SmackDown
Okay.
after The Miz decided to show up on SmackDown and celebrate Carmelo Hayes' win of the Andre the Giant Battle Royal by giving him a gold chain with the face, what looked like, I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be Carmelo's face or Andre's face, but he gave him like a giant gold chain that he wore around his neck. And he said, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do my thing and show why everybody should remember who I am. He gets into the ring, he starts talking his Miz talk, and then we hear Aleister Black's music. And then Aleister Black, the flames at the stage, you see him come up with the riser on his that little chair, or that I guess it looks like a stretcher from what I see. Walks down the aisle, gets in the ring, and Black mass kick to the face. Then he sits down, and that's how it ends for him. I think it was a really good way to bring him in. What did you think?
Okay. Last thing I'll say, I wanted to just go back to Karrion Kross real quick. First of all, I've always been a fan of his. I love the Killer Cross. I love the fact that if you listened to the WrestleMania crowd, when AJ punched him in the face, everyone went, oh, like people wanted him to join AJ. It was amazing how, because this guy has never been over. Like everyone talks about I love his promos. A lot of people, whatever, they say his in-ring work, it passes in my opinion. It passes. He's not bad. NXT champ twice, right? 2-time NXT champ. Yes. So it's time for him to get this push. There's a sign in the crowd at Raw. Push Karrion. The people are now on his side. When he showed up on camera on Monday, there was an ovation. People reacted to him for the first time. Triple H is definitely hearing this. They got to do something with him right now.
Yes, and I agree with you on that one. And I think on that note, we will end the show this week.
Yes, sir.
We thank you for joining us, for your uncle that isn't here, for my tag team partner that's not with us, the phenomenal one. I'm the Peeps Nate. You are?
Mr. 411.
Yes, of course. And we came, we showed up, and in the words of the great Paul Heyman,
we conquered. Am I allowed to say that?
I guess so right now. So we'll see you fans next week. Enjoy and have a great Saturday afternoon.